Hi everyone, welcome back to Candid Reports with Bonolo. Today we're diving into a hot topic that's been making waves online. Dan Carter's powerful defense of South Africa on the Piers Morgan show. If you care about facts, fair debate and South Africa's reputation, you'll want to stick around for this one. Recently, South African broadcaster Dan Carter appeared on a panel with Piers Morgan, SABC's Sophie Mokoena, Dr. Ernest Roots and Gareth Cliff. The big topic? Well, claims of the so-called White Genocide and the controversial 142 race laws in South Africa. Let's break down what happened. First, the panel tackled the White Genocide myth, a narrative that's been circulating in some international circles, especially online. Dan Carter didn't hesitate. He pointed out that even the panelists who are usually linked with these claims agreed there is no White Genocide happening in South Africa. Quote, all of us on this panel agree there is no White Genocide in South Africa. End quote. Next up, the 142 race laws. Some have claimed these laws are designed to target white South Africans. Well, Dan set the record straight. He explained that these laws are mostly about ensuring the fair representation in government and public life, not about discrimination. Carter emphasized that these laws aim to address the legacy of apartheid by making sure all South Africans, regardless of race, gender, or disability, have a fair shot in public service and business. He also debunked the idea that these laws are uniquely oppressive. In fact, similar policies exist in many countries trying to fix historical injustices.
And these race laws are facilitating this process and not addressing it.
All right, Dan Carter, you're mocking what you've just been hearing. Why?
Well, it's just fun to be in the front row and the audience for the circus peers to hear this level of hilarious lying and grifting. So he doesn't name you a single race law that genuinely has anything wrong with it. Then he says the problem is implementation. And then he leaps to, oh no, forget that I was talking about laws. The education system is broken. Doesn't show you which law that has racial redress parts into it could have caused that to happen. Piers, let me clear up these actual laws, because what they tried to do was have a deluge of hundreds of laws and hope that nobody would read them. But I went through their list. I actually covered 25 of the 142 laws on my TV show a few weeks ago. Here's what the laws are actually. They're equity and transformation laws to create meaningful fairness. And here's what actually the vast majority of the laws say. They say there needs to be meaningful representation in South Africa to reflect our country fairly on three things, not just one: race, gender, and disability. But these grifters will say that they're race laws, but if you want to follow their argument to its conclusion, why aren't they calling them sexist laws, Piers? There's representation for women right next to race, and why aren't they saying that able-bodied people are completely disadvantaged? Disability is right next to race and sex. This is a grift to call it a race law, when actually, if they are being sincere with what they are arguing, they call them sexist laws too, that are very mean to men, and ability laws too.
So you're not denying that it's race laws. You're just saying that it's more than that.
Settle down, brother. I'm actually going to talk about what these laws actually say. Let me give you an easy example. The Public Services Act, Piers Morgan, here's exactly what it says. It's to address imbalances of the past to achieve a public service that broadly represents the South African people, including representation according to race, gender, and disability. That's on their list. That's on their list. And when it comes to, oh, black people haven't been helped by these laws, that is frankly shambolically untrue. We now have a black middle class in South Africa. Sure, it hasn't helped enough black people, and there's a long way to go. But do you know why we have a black middle class? One of the main reasons why we have a black middle class is that the South African government has hired black people into public service and given them the reliable, deserved jobs that have lifted them out of poverty. That didn't exist 5 years ago, 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30. There is active transformation happening through these policies. Ernst Roots is going to complain about extreme examples where there are corruption and kickbacks. And in every single system that happens, and we should try to get rid of them. But he's not been able to show a single sincere problem with any of these laws. He's Googled the word disadvantaged in acts and then called them race laws. But if we're going to follow his argument, why isn't he calling them sexist or anti-able-bodied
every government in the world is as corrupt as the South African government?
Let me bring in Gareth.
That's a straw man, my friend. That is a straw man. They are corrupt governments, but you've not shown shown any problem with the laws. That was your job.
All right.
Your burden of proof was to show that these laws are race-based or racist, and you failed, brother. And
Thank you. Let me bring in Gareth for the
South Africans on social media loved Dan Carter's performance. He was praised for stating facts, staying calm under pressure, and representing the country with pride. So what can we learn from this? In a world full of misinformation, it's more important than ever to speak up for the truth. Dan Carter showed us that when you bring facts and clarity to the table, you can change the narrative. What do you think about Dan Carter's defense of South Africa? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more news and analysis from Candid Reports with Bonolo. It's bye for now.